Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Ram, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Sit properly. Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Ram Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Ram 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 Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Ram Ram Hare Krishna Ram Ram Krishna Krishna Ram 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Ram Ram Hare Ram
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Krishna, 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 Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram,
Krishna, Krishna, Ram, 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 Krishna, Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Ram Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Krishna, Krishna, Ram, 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 Krishna, Ram, 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 Krishna, Ram, 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 Krishna, Ram, 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 Krishna, Ram, 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 Krishna, Ram, 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 Krishna, Ram, Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Om Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Ram, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Ram, Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Sit properly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Go long long, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram. Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram. Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Mataji's, Prabhuji's Tanvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Let us begin with Mangalacharana prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled as Creation, Chapter 9, The Glorious Passing Away of Sri Bhishma Deva, in the presence of Krishna. Let me share. Yeah. So we are at this verse 47. Please, Mother, please begin.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Pranam.
Matu, yes, Dana.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All the great sages then glorified Lord Sri Krishna, who was present there, by confidential Vedic hymns. Then all of them returned to their respective hermitages, bearing always Lord Krishna in their hearts. The devotees of the Lord are always in the heart of the Lord, and the Lord is always in the hearts of the devotees. That is the sweet relation between the Lord and his devotees. To honor, love, and devotion for the Lord, devotees always see him within themselves. And the Lord also, although he has nothing to do and nothing to aspire to, is always busy in attending to the welfare of his devotees. For the ordinary living beings, the law of nature is there for all actions and reactions, but he is always anxious to put his devotees on the right path. The devotees, therefore, are under the direct care of the Lord, and the Lord also voluntarily puts himself under the care of his devotees only. So all the sages headed by Vyasdeva were devotees of the Lord, and therefore they chanted the Vedic hymns after the funeral ceremony just to please the Lord, who was present there personally. All the Vedic hymns are chanted to please Lord Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15. All the Vedas, Upanishads, Vedanta, etc. are seeking him only, and all hymns are for glorifying him only. The sages therefore performed the exact acts suitable for the purpose, and they happily departed for their respective hermitages.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Samyukta Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Thereafter, Maharaja Yudhishthira at once went to his capital Hastinapura, accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, and there he consoled his uncle and aunt Gandhari, who was an ascetic. Purport. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, the father and the mother of Duryodhana, and his brothers were the elder uncle and aunt of Maharaja Yudhishthira. After the battle of Kurukshetra, the celebrated couple, having lost all their sons and grandsons, were under the care of Maharaja Yudhishthira. They were passing their days in great agony over such a heavy loss of life, and were practically living the life of ascetics. The death news of Bhishma Deva, uncle of Dhritarashtra, was another great shock for the king and queen, and therefore they required solace from Maharaja Yudhishthira. Maharaja Yudhishthira was conscious of his duty, and he at once hurried to the spot with Lord Krishna and satisfied the bereaved Dhritarashtra with kind words from both himself and the Lord also. Gandhari was a powerful ascetic, although she was living the life of a faithful wife and a kind mother. It is said that Gandhari also voluntarily blindfolded her eyes because of the blindness of her husband. A wife's duty is to follow the husband's 10%, and Gandhari was so true to her husband that she followed him even in his perpetual blindness. Therefore, in her actions, she was a great ascetic. Besides that, the shock she suffered because of the wholesale killing of her 100 sons and her grandsons also was certainly too much for a woman. But she suffered all this just like an ascetic. Gandhari, although a woman, is no less than Bhishma Deva in character. They are both remarkable personalities in the Mahabharata. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Next words. Sandhya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After this, the great religious king Maharaja Yudhishthira executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes of royal principles approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna. Purport. Maharaja Yudhishthira was not a mere tax collector. He was always conscious of his duty as a king, which is no less than that of a father or a spiritual master. The king is to see to the welfare of the citizens from all angles of social, political, economic, and spiritual upliftment. The king must know that human life is meant for liberating the engaged soul from the bondage of material conditions, and therefore his duty is to see that the citizens are properly looked after to attain this highest stage of perfection. Maharaja Yudhishthira followed these principles strictly, as well as will be seen from the next chapter. Not only did he follow the principles, but he also got approval from his old uncle, who was experienced in political affairs, and that was also confirmed by Lord Krishna, the speaker of the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. Maharaja Yudhishthira is the ideal monarch and monarchy under a trained king like Maharaja Yudhishthira is by far the most superior form of government. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Maharaja Yudhishthira is ideal monarch and monarchy under trained king like Maharaja Yudhishthira is by far the most superior form of government, superior to modern republics or governments of the people by the people. The mass of people, especially in the age of Kali, are all born Shudras, basically low-born, ill-trained, unfortunate, and badly associated. They themselves do not know the highest perfectional aim of life. Therefore, votes cast by them actually have no value, and thus persons elected by such irresponsible votes cannot be responsible representatives like Maharaja Yudhishthira. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Thus Passing Away of Bhishma Deva in the Presence of Lord Krishna.
Yeah, first canto. Thank you, Mataji. So let us read translations. 9, chapter 9. Okay. Yeah. Read Lavanya. 5. So slokas.
5.
Yeah.
Chapter 9, the passing away of Bhishma Deva in the presence of Lord Sri Krishna. Next one. Sutta Goswami said, being afraid of having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaja Yudhishthira went to the scene of massacre. Therefore, there Bhishma Deva was lying on a bed of arrows, about to pass away. At that time, all his brothers followed him on battle and beautiful chariots drawn by first-class horses decorated with gold ornaments. With them were Vyasa and rishis like Daumya, the learned priest of the Pandavas and others. O sage among the Brahmanas, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, also followed, seated on a chariot with Arjuna. Thus King Yudhishthira appeared very aristocratic like Kuvera, surrounded by his companions, the Guhyakas. Seeing him, Bhishma lying on the ground like a demigod fallen from the sky, the Pandava king Yudhishthira, along with his younger brothers, Lord Krishna, bowed down before him. Just to see the chief of the descendants of King Bharata, Bhishma, all the great souls in the universe, namely the rishis among the demigods, brahmanas, and kings, all situated in the quality of goodness, were assembled there. Thank you, Hare
Yeah. Text 6 and 7. All the sages like Parvatamuni, Narada, Daumya, Vyasa, the incarnation of God, Brihadasva, Bharadwaja, and Parashurama, and disciples. Vasista, Indra, Pramada, Trita, Gritsamada, Asita, Kakshivan, Gautama, Atri, Kaushika, and Sudarshana were present. Text 8, and many others like Sukadeva Goswami and other purified souls, Kashyapa and Angirasa and others, all accompanied by their respective disciples, arrived there. Text 9, Bhishma Deva, who was the best among us, the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. Text 10, Lord Sri Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, yet he manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. This very Lord was sitting before Bhishma Deva, and since Bhishma Deva knew of his glories, he worshipped him duly. Deepa Mataji.
Text 11. The sons of Maharaja Pandu were sitting silently nearby. Overtaken with affection for their dying grandfather. Seeing this, Bhishma Deva congratulated them with feeling. There were tears of ecstasy in his eyes, for he was overwhelmed by love and affection. Bhishma Deva said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations, yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God, and religion. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal also because of your actions. In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time under whose control everyone is in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. Text 15. Oh, how wonderful is the influence of inevitable time! It is irreversible. Otherwise, how can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhishthira, the son of demigod controlling religion, Bhima, the great fighter with a club, the great bowman Arjuna with his mighty weapon Gandiva, and above all, the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Samyukta Mataji.
Text 16. O king, no one can know the plan of the Lord Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. Text 17. O best among the descendants of Bharata, Yudhishthira, I maintain therefore that all this is within the plan of the Lord. Accepting the inconceivable plan of the Lord, you must follow it. You are now the appointed administrative head, and my Lord, you should now take care of those subjects who are now rendered helpless. Text 18. This Sri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable original personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayana, the supreme enjoyer, but he is moving among us the descendants of King Vrishni, just like one of us, and he is bewildering us with his self-created energy. O King, Lord Shiva, Narada, the sage among us, the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all know very confidentially about his glories through direct contact. O King, that personality whom out of ignorance only you thought to be your maternal cousin, you very dear friend, well-wisher, counselor, messenger, benefactor, etc., is that very personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Next.
Sandhya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Text 21. Being the absolute personality of Godhead, he is present in everyone's heart. He is equally kind to everyone, and he is free from the false ego of differentiation. Therefore, whatever he does is free from material inebriety, is is equibalanced. Yet, despite his being equally kind to everyone, he has graciously come before me while I am ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. The personality of Godhead who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation and by chanting of the holy name releases the devotee from the bondage of fruity activities at the time of his quitting the material body. May my Lord, who is four-handed and whose beautifully decorated lotus face with eyes as red as the rising sun is smiling, kindly await me at the moment when I quit this material body. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaja Yudhishthira, after hearing Bhishma Deva speak in that appealing tone, asked him in the presence of all the great rishis about the essential principles of various religious duties.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, and sorry Prabhuji if any disturbance.
Nothing. It's okay. Thank you, Mataji. Yes.
Thank
Lavanya, go ahead. Yeah. Text 26, Lavanya, go ahead.
Text 26. At Maharaja Yudhishthira's inquiries, Bhishmadeva first defined all the classifications of tests and orders of life in terms of the individual qualification. Then he systematically, in twofold divisions, described contraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. He then explained by divisions acts of charity, the pragmatic activities of king, and activities of salvation. Then he described the duties of women and devotees, both briefly and extensively. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and status of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truth. While Bhishmadeva was describing occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will. Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men stopped speaking and being completely freed from all bondage, withdraw his mind from everything else and fix his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him, four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Text 31. By pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendently to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body. Text 32. Bhishma Deva said, "Let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all-powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although from him only the material world is created." Text 33. Sri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the tamala tree. His body attracts everyone in the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face, covering with paintings of sandalwood pulp, be the object of my attraction, and may I not desire fruitive results. Text 34. On the battlefield where Sri Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship, the flowing hair of Lord Krishna turned ashen due to the dust raised by the hoofs of the horses. And because of his labor, beads of sweat wetted his face. All these decorations, intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows, were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go unto Sri Krishna. Text 35. In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Sri Krishna entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhana. And while there he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna. Yeah, Madai, Deepa Madai.
Text 36. When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. Fulfilling my vow and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran towards me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. May he, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who awards salvation, be my ultimate destination. On the battlefield, he charged me as if angry because of the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows. His shield was scattered and his body was smeared with blood due to the wounds. At the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction be to Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with a whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original forms after death. Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna, whose motion and smiles of love attracted the damsels of Rajdhama, the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movement of the Lord after his disappearance from the Rasa dance. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Mata, yeah. Samyukta Mata.
Yes, Prabhu. Text 41. At the Rajasuya Yajna sacrifice performed by Maharaja Yudhishthira, there was the great assembly of all the elite men of the world, the royal and learned orders. And in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all the most exalted personality of Godhead. This happened during my presence, and I remembered the incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord. Now I can meditate with full concentration upon that one Lord, Sri Krishna, now present before me, because now I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart, even in the hearts of the mental speculators. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one. Sutta Goswami said, thus Bhishma Deva merged himself in the super soul Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with his mind, speech, sight, and actions, and thus he became silent and his breathing stopped. Knowing that Bhishma Deva had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent like birds at the end of the day. Thereafter, both men and demigods sounded drums in honor, and the honest royal order commenced demonstrations of honor and respect. And from the sky fell showers of flowers.
Yeah. Sandhya Mata, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Text 46. O descendant of Bhrigu, Shaunaka, after performing funeral rituals for the dead body of Bhishma Deva, Maharaja Yudhishthira was momentarily overtaken with grief. All the great sages when glorified Lord Sri Krishna, who was present there, by confidential Vedic hymns. Then all of them returned to their respective hermitages, bearing always Lord Krishna within their hearts. Thereafter, Maharaja Yudhishthira at once went to his capital, Hastinapura, accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, and there he consoled his uncle and aunt Gandhari, who was an ascetic. After this, the great religious king Maharaja Yudhishthira executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes of royal principles approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mother. So, one question by reading this. What are the symptoms of consciousness? Symptoms.
Thinking, feeling, willing.
నేనే చెప్పలేదు మాత ఇస్ ట్రై చేయమన్నా నీకు తెలుసు యు ఆర్ ఎక్స్పర్ట్ ఎస్ సిమ్టమ్స్ ఆఫ్ కాన్షియస్నెస్ థింకింగ్ ఫీలింగ్ అండ్ విల్లింగ్ వాట్ వి థింక్ వాట్ వి ఫీల్ అండ్ వాట్ వి విల్ దట్ క్రియేట్స్ డెస్టినేషన్ సో ఇఫ్ వి థింక్ ఆల్వేస్ అబౌట్ కృష్ణ అండ్ హిస్ గ్లోరీస్ పాస్ట్ టైమ్స్ ఇఫ్ వి విల్ టు సర్వ్ ఇన్ ద లోటస్ ఫీట్ ఆఫ్ ద లార్డ్ అండ్ హిస్ devotees, thinking, feeling, and willing. Willing means serving again. Services. Want to do some service. Wanting things. Willing means wanting things. So thinking, feeling, willing. Whether we are in spiritual world or material world, those three things are very, very important, and it's with the consciousness. Chetana avastha. By thinking, what is our consciousness? Material consciousness or spiritual consciousness. Willing also. We want material objects or material things or spiritual things. Willing, thinking, feeling, and willing. What are we feeling about? So this is very, very important. Srila Prabhupada writes so clearly. Thinking, feeling, and willing. Many times in his purports. So a couple of minutes there. I wanted to. There are in this chapter, Srila Prabhupada explains so nicely about different personalities. Let us read that one. Let me see. Where is that? Yeah. Text 6-7, I think. Yeah. Today we will read this again. Can we read, Matais? The personalities.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Very, very important. So these are they all the sages were there at the passing away of Bhishma Deva. So he's explaining all these personalities. Let us read another 5 or 10 minutes. Then we'll go to Sloka practice. Next step, Lavanya. Yeah, go ahead, read.
Parvata Muni. Parvata Muni is considered to be one of the oldest sages. He is almost always a constant companion of Narada Muni. They are also spacemen competent to travel in the air without the help of any material vehicle. Parvata Muni is also a Devarshi or a great sage among the demigods like Narada. He was present along with Narada at the sacrificial ceremony of Maharaja Janmejaya, son of Maharaj Parikshit. In this sacrifice, all the snakes of the world were to be killed. Parvata Muni and Narada Muni are called Gandharvas also because they can travel in the air singing the glories of the Lord. Since they can travel in the air, they observe Draupadi's Swayamvara ceremony, selecting of her own husband from the air. Like Narada Muni, Parvata Muni also used to visit the royal assembly in the heaven of King Indra. As a Gandharva, sometimes he visited the royal assembly of Kuvera. one of the important demigods. Both Narada and Parvata Muni were once in trouble with the daughter of Maharaj Srinjaya. Maharaj Srinjaya got the benediction of a son by Parvata Muni.
Yeah, read one more.
Narada Muni is inevitably associated with the narrations of the Puranas. He is described in the Bhagavatam. In his previous life, he was born as the son of a maidservant, but by good association with the pure devotees, he became enlightened in devotional service, and in the next life, he became a perfect man comparable with himself only. In the Mahabharata, his name is mentioned in many places. He is the principal Devarshi, or the chief sage among the demigods. He is the son and disciple of Brahmaji, and from him the disciplic succession in the line of Brahma has been spread. He initiated Prahlada Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, and many celebrated devotees of the Lord. He initiated even Veda Vyasa, the author of the Vedic literatures. And from Veda Vyasa, Madhvacharya was initiated, and thus the Madhva Sampradaya, in which the Gaudiya Sampradaya is also included, has spread all over the universe. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu belonged to this Madhva Sampradaya before Brahmaji, Narada, Vyasa down to Madhva. Chaitanya and Goswamis all belong to the same line of disciplic succession. Narada ji has instructed many kings from time immemorial. In the Bhagavatam, we can see that he instructed Prahlad Maharaj while he was in the womb of his mother. And he instructed Vasudeva, father of Sri Krishna, as well as Maharaj Yudhishthira.
Vasudeva.
Vasudeva, father of Krishna, as well as Maharaj Yudhishthira.
Yeah, I will read this. Daumya, a great sage who practiced severe penances at Utkocha Tirtha and was appointed royal priest of the Pandava kings. He acted as a priest in many religious functions of the Pandavas, Samskara, and also each of the Pandavas was attended by him at the betrothal of Draupadi. He was present even during the exile of the Pandavas and used to advise them in circumstances when they were perplexed. He instructed them how to live incognito for 1 year, and his instructions were strictly followed by the Pandavas during that time. His name is mentioned also when the general funeral ceremony was performed after the battle of Kurukshetra. In the Hanusashana Parva of Mahabharata, 127.15 to 16 verses, he gave very elaborate religious instructions to Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was actually the right type of priest of a householder, for he could guide the Pandavas on the right path of religion. A priest is meant for guiding the householder progressively in the right path of ashrama dharma or occupational duty of a particular caste. There is practically no difference between the family priest and the spiritual master. The sages, saints, and brahmanas were especially meant for such functions. Badarayana, Vyasadeva. He is known as Krishna Dvaipayana, Satyavati Sutta, Parasharya, Parasharatmaja, Badarayana, Vedavyasa, etc., etc. He was the son of Mahamuni Parashara in the womb of Satyavati prior to her betrothal with Maharaja Shantanu, the father of the great general grandfather Bhishmadeva. He is a powerful incarnation of Narayana, and he broadcasts the Vedic wisdom to the world. As such, Vyasadeva is offered respects before one chant the Vedic literature, especially the Puranas. Sukadeva Goswami was his son, and rishis like Vaishampayana were his disciples for different branches of the Vedas. He is the author of the great epic Mahabharata and great transcendental literature Bhagavatam. The Brahma Sutras, the Vedanta Sutras, or Badarayana Sutras were compiled by him. Among his sages, he is the most respected author by dint of severe penances. When he wanted to record the great epic Mahabharata for the welfare of all people in the age of Kali, he was feeling the necessity of a powerful writer who could take up his dictation. By the order of Brahmaji, Sri Ganeshji took up the charge of noting down the dictation on the condition that Vyasadeva would not stop dictation for a moment. The Mahabharata was thus compiled by the joint endeavor of Vyasa and Ganesha. Good. Yeah. Easy to complete. Let us go to the other one. Yeah, by the order of his mother, Satyavati, who was later married to Maharaja Santanu, and by the request of Bhishma Deva, the eldest son of Maharaja Santanu, by his first wife, the Ganges, he begot 3 brilliant sons, whose names are Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura. The Mahabharata was compiled by Vyasadeva after the battle of Kurukshetra and after the death of all the heroes of Mahabharata. It was first spoken in the royal assembly of Maharaja Janamejaya, the son of Maharaja Parikshit. Yeah. Deepa Mata, yes, you can read the 3 chadavanu.
Brihadashva, an ancient sage who used to meet Maharaja Yudhishthira now and then. First of all, he met Maharaja Yudhishthira at Kamyavana. This sage narrated the history of Maharaja Nala. There is another Brihadashva who is the son of Ikshwaku dynasty, Mahabharata Vanaparva 209.4 to 5. Bharadwaja, he is one of the 7 great rishis and was present at the time of birth ceremony of Arjuna. The powerful rishi sometimes undertook severe penances on the shore of the Ganges, and his ashrama is still celebrated in Prayaga Dhama. It is learned that this rishi, while taking bath in the Ganges, happened to meet Ghritachi, one of the beautiful society girls of heaven, and thus he discharged semen, which was kept and preserved in an earthen pot, and from which Drona was born. So Dronacharya is the son of Bharadwaja Muni. Others say that Bharadwaja, the father of Drona, is a different person from Maharshi Bharadwaja. He was a great devotee of Brahma. Once he approached Dronacharya and requested him to stop the battles of Kurukshetra. Parshurama or Renuka Sutta. He is the son of Maharshi Jamadagni and Srimati Renuka. Thus, he is also known as Renuka Sutta. He is one of the powerful incarnations of God, and he killed the Kshatriya community as a whole 21 times. With the blood of Kshatriyas, he pleased the souls of his forefathers. Later on, he underwent severe penances at the Mahendra Parvata. After taking the whole earth from Kshatriyas, he gave it in charity to Kashyapa Muni. Parshurama instructed the Dhanurveda, the science of fighting, to Dronacharya because he happened to be a Brahmana. He was present during the coronation of Maharaja Yudhishthira, and he celebrated the function along with other great rishis. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother. Akinchan Prabhu, you want to read? Thank you, Jain now.
Yes, Prabhu.
Read.
Krishna.
Please. Then after.
1 second, Prabhu. Yeah. From Bharadwaja, Vashishta, Prabhu.
Parashurama.
Parshuram, yeah. Parshuram is so old that he met both Rama and Krishna at different times. He fought with Rama, but he accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also praised Arjuna when he saw him with Krishna. When Bhishma refused to marry Amba, who wanted him to become her husband, Amba met Parshurama, and by her request only he asked Bhishma Dev to accept her as his wife. Bhishma refused to obey his orders, although he was one of the spiritual masters of Bhishma Dev. Parshurama fought with Bhishma Dev, and with Bhishma neglected his warning. But both of them fought very severely and lost. Last, Parshurama was pleased with Bhishma and gave him the benediction of becoming the greatest fighter in the world. Vasistha, the great celebrated sage among the Brahmanas, well known as the Brahmarshi Vasistha Deva. He is the prominent figure in both the Ramayana and Mahabharata periods. He celebrated the coronation ceremony of the personality of Godhead Sri Rama. He was present also on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He could approach all higher and lower planets, and his name is also connected with the history of Hiranyakashipu. There was a great tension between him and Vishwamitra, who wanted him Kamadhenu, wish-fulfilling cow. Vasishtha Muni refused to spare him Kamadhenu, and for his Vishwamitra killed his 100 sons. As perfect Brahmana, he tolerated all the taunts of Vishwamitra. Once he tried to commit suicide on the account of Vishwamitra's torture, but all the attempts were unsuccessful. He jumped from the hill, but the stones on the which he fell became a stack of cotton, and thus he was saved. He jumped into the ocean, but the waves washed him ashore. He jumped into the river, but the river also washed him ashore. Thus, all the suicide attempts were unsuccessful. He is also one of the 7 rishis and husband of Arundhati, the famous star.
Okay, bro. Thank you. Yeah, Mata. Yeah. Samir, go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. Indra Pramada, another celebrated rishi. Trita, one of the 3 sons of Prajapati Gautama. He was the 3rd son, and his other two brothers were known as Ekat and Vita. All the brothers were great sages and strict followers of the principles of religion. By dint of severe penances, they were promoted to Brahmaloka, the planet where Brahmaji lives. Once Tritamuni fell into a well. He was an organizing worker of many sacrifices, and as one of the great sages, he also came to show respect to Bhishmaji at his deathbed. He was one of the 7 sages in the Varuna Loka. He hailed from the western countries of the world. As such, most probably, he belonged to the European countries. At that time, the whole world was under one Vedic culture. Grismada, one of the sages, Prabhuji?
Gritsamada,
one of the sages of the heavenly kingdom. He was a close friend of Indra, the king of heaven, and was as great as Brihaspati. He used to visit the royal assembly of Maharaja Yudhishthira, and he also visited the place where Bhishma Deva breathed his last. Sometimes he explained the glories of Lord Shiva before Maharaja Yudhishthira. He was the son of Vitahavya, and he resembled in features the body of Indra. Sometimes the enemies of Indra mistook him to be Indra and arrested him. He was a great scholar of the Rig Veda, and thus he was highly respected by the Brahmana community. He lived a life of celibacy and was powerful in every respect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Mother. Sandhya Mata, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Asita, there was a king of the same name, but hearing the Asita mentioned is the Asita Devala Rishi, a great powerful sage of the time. He explained to his father 15 billion verses.
300, 1,500,000.
Okay.
1,500,000. It's okay, yeah. Read, Mother.
Verses from the Mahabharata. He was one of the members in the snake sacrifice of Maharaja Janmejaya. He was also present during the coronation ceremony of Maharaja Yudhishthira, along with other great rishis. He also gave Maharaja Yudhishthira instructions while he was on the Anjana hill. He was also one of the devotees of Lord Shiva. Kakshivan, one of the sons of Gautama Muni and the father of the great sage Chanda Kaushika. He was one of the members of parliament of Maharaja Yudhishthira. Atri Muni was a great Brahmana sage and was one of the mental sons of Brahmaji. Brahmaji is so powerful that simply by thinking of a son, he can have it. These sons are known as Manasa Putras. Out of 7 Manasa Putras of Brahmaji and out of the 7 great Brahmana sages, Atri was one. In his family, the great Prasetas were also born. Atri Muni had 2 Kshatriya sons who became kings. King Arthama is one of them. He is counted as one of the 21 Prajapatis. His wife's name was Anasuya, and he helped Maharaja Parikshit in his great sacrifices. Kaushika, one of the permanent Rishi members in the royal assembly of Maharaja Yudhishthira, he sometimes met Lord Sri Krishna. There are several other sages of the same name.
Yeah, thank you, Mother. Lavanya, you can complete this.
Yeah, Vishwamitra Muni Vishwamitra and kuda Kaushika Muni antaru. Vishwamitra is also called Kaushika Muni.
One of the
One
okay.
of them.
But
Sudarshan.
he was there in the trial assembly of Maharajishtra during Rajya Yoga.
He is not Kaushika. That Vishwamitra, he is not Vishwamitra. Kaushika Muni is also called Vishwamitra Muni. There are similar other sages and another kada.
Acha.
Yeah.
But I don't think that Vishwamitra is not there in that Rajasuya Yajna, that sacrifice ceremony.
Yeah, he is not that. But Kaushika Muni is also called one. Vishwamitra Muni is also called Kaushika because his father name is like comes from that Kaushika. So he is also called Kaushika.
Okay. Yeah. Complete this paragraph.
And Asita Devala ante like Parabrahma Parandama Pavitram Paramamma Asito Devalo Vyasa అందరూ కన్ఫర్మ్ చేసిండ్రు ఇప్పుడు నువ్వే కన్ఫర్మ్ చేస్తున్నావు కృష్ణ అని చెప్తారు చూడండి అక్కడ అసితా దేవల అక్కడ వస్తుంది.
Yeah, correct. In the Bhagavad Gita also in the assembly in Kurukshetra battlefield, all these great warriors, rishis were there. Asita Devalo ane vastadu slogan. So that's where this one. Yeah.
Now Sudarshana. This veil which is accepted by the personality of Godhead, Vishnu or Krishna, as his personal weapon is the most powerful weapon, greater than the Brahmastras or similar other disastrous weapons. In some of the Vedic literature, it is said that Agnideva, the fire god, presented this weapon to Lord Krishna. But factually, this weapon was eternally carried by the Lord. Agnideva presented this weapon to Krishna in the same way that Rukmini was given by Maharaja Rukma to the Lord. The Lord accepts such presentation from his devotees, even though such presentations are eternally his property. There is an elaborate description of this weapon in the Adi Parva of Mahabharata. Lord Sri Krishna used this weapon to kill Shishupala, a rival of the Lord. He also killed Shalva by his weapon, and sometimes he wanted his friend Arjuna to use it to kill his enemies. Mahabharata, Virata Parva 56.3.
So actually everything is Krishna's only, but he accepts, but still he accepts. Think about in broader perspective, everything.
Rival of the Lord. He's also here.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Everything is Krishna's energy only. But when we use it for his service, he pleases. As simple as that. See, actually, originally the Sudarshan Chakra is eternally he carried, but he accepted from Agnideva. Just inkoka example kuda chepparu, and Rukmini was given by Maharaja Rukma to the Lord. So everything is everything from his creation. If we offer to him, just using, just acknowledging, right? So everything is proprietor. He's a proprietor, controller, enjoyer, and all things come from him. Spiritual things, material things, spiritual world, material world, everything, all. So, okay. It's a big purport. So it's the Prabhupada is so clearly explained, little by little. All these personalities are, that's why it's a history. In outside world, in a materialistic people, they think Mahabharata is a mythology. Ramayana is a mythology. No, it's a historical event. These are epics. This happened long time back, 5,000 years back, right? So these personalities were there, and see these names. If you look at these names of various personalities and explaining about this background, right? So it's a historical event and it's real. Yeah. Thank you very much reading for today. Mataji's Prabhuji's. 2 times. Let us read these slokas till 9-10. Let us see. Who is going to do recitation? Let me do. Okay. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13. Yeah, 13.22. Purusha prakritisto hi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sadasadiyoni janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. Bhagavad Gita 13.23. Upadrastanu manta cha bharta bhokta maheshwara paramatmeti cha pyukto dehesmin purushapara. Yet in this body, there is another transcendental enjoyer who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. Bhagavad Gita 14.26. Mam cheyo avibicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotion service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Bhagavad Gita 15.7. Mamaivamsho jivaloke jiva bhuta sanatana manashashthanindriyani prakritistani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivisto matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha vedesya sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krudveda videva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am knower of the Vedas. Bhagavad Gita 18.54. Brahma bhuta prasannatma nasochitina kamshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Bhagavad Gita 18.55. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Bhagavad Gita 18.65. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mami vaishasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Nectar of devotion. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukulyena krishnano shilanam bhaktiruttama. When first class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires. Knowledge obtained by monastic philosophy and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. This question is in OBA, Open Book Assessment. Yesterday only I completed. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.12. Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. the master of all the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations, and simply by being employed in the service of the Lord, one's senses are purified. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.234. Atha Sri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grashyam Indriyai Sevonmukhe Jihvadau Swayam Eva Swaratyadaha. Because Krishna's form, qualities, pastimes, etc. are all on the absolute platform. Material senses cannot therefore appreciate them. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and rendered service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. Yeah. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.255. अनासक्तस्य विषयान् यथार्हम् उपयुञ्जतः निर्बन्ध कृष्ण सम्बन्धे युक्तं वैराग्यमुच्यते. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts anything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. So same tune చేశాను మాతది అన్ని కూడా ప్రభుజీస్ మాతది. Anybody likes to do, please do it. Another 6 or 7 minutes, let us spend.
I'll try.
Yeah, Chain Prabhu.
Bhagavad Gita 13.22. Pursha prakritisto hi bhunte prakrite jan gunan karanam guna sangasya sad asad yoni janmashu. The living entities in this material world thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to the association with material nature. Thus he meets with the God and he meets with the good and evil.
Among various species.
Among the various species. Oh, sorry, bro. I could not see. Okay. BG 13.23. Upadrishtatu anmanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwara paramatmeti cha priyukto dehismin purushaparaha. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. BG 14.26. Mam chayo vibhachare na bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatiyetan brahma bhutaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus come to the level of Brahman. BG 15.7. Mamaivaamsha jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana manasastani indriyani prakritisthani karishyate. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to the conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with 6 senses, which includes the mind. Yeah, BG 15.15. Sarvascha chaham idisannivishto masta smritirjnana aponaham cha vedescha sarvaham eva vedyo vedanta krit veda vid eva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes the remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am. What is that, Prabhuji? And I am the
ఇప్పటికి
knower of the.
ఇప్పటికి మీరు చెప్పాలంతే. ఐఎమ్ ది నోయర్ ఆఫ్ ది వేదాస్.
Of the Vedas, yeah. Knower of the Vedas. Yeah. BG 18.54. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sonchati na kankshati samak sarveshu bhuteshu madbhakte labate param. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. BG 18.55 Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatpata tato mam tatpato jnanatva vishate tad anantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. 18.65 Manmana bhava madbhaktho madhyaji mam namaskuro mame vaishyas satyante pratijane priyosime. Me. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my dear friend. Very dear. BG 18.66 Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja ham tvam sarva papebhyo moksheshyami ma sucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all reactions. Do not fear. Victor of devotion. अन्याभिलाषिता शून्यं ज्ञानकर्मादिनावृतम् अनुकूलेन कृष्णानुशीलनं bhaktiruttama. When first class devotional service develop, one must be devoid of all material desires. Knowledge obtained by the monastic philosophy and definitive actions, the devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. सर्वोपाधिविनिर्मुक्तं तत्प्रवर्तयेन निर्मलं
Parattvena.
तत्प्रवर्तेन निर्मलं ऋषिकेश सेवनं भक्तिरुच्यते. Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of all senses. When the spirit soul renders services unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations, and simply by being employed in the service of the Lord, one's senses are purified. अतः श्री कृष्ण नामादि न भवेद ग्रहम इंद्रियै सेवा मुखे हि जिह्वादो स्वयं एव स्फुरति अधः. Because Krishna's form, qualities, pastime, etc. are all on the absolute form, material senses cannot therefore appreciate them. When a conditioned soul is awakened to the Krishna consciousness and renders services by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and to taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to the understand who Krishna really is. अनासक्त्य विषयान् यथार्थम उपजुञ्जत निर्बन्धेन कृष्ण संबंधे युक्तां वैराग्यम उच्यते. When one is not attached to anything but at the same time accepts anything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Prabhuji and Mataji. Subara Prabhu, thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dinat Pranam Prabhu.
Prabhu,
the last 4 slokas, the English translation is different in different books, Prabhu. Right? The 2 slokas. Sorry.
అయితే ఏం చేయాలంటే ప్రభు ఈ శ్లోక ట్రాన్స్లేటర్ లో ఉంటది కదా, మనకు ఆన్లైన్ ట్రాన్స్లేటర్ లో ఇది కొట్టి చేయొచ్చు ప్రభు. ఇప్పుడు
మీరు ఎక్కడి నుంచి తీశారు
ఇది భక్తి రసం మన బుక్ గైడ్
సిలబస్ బుక్ నుంచి తీశారు.
సిలబస్ బుక్ లో నుంచి వచ్చినాయి ఇది 4.
ఓకే ఓకే ఓకే.
దీన్ని మీరు ఆల్రెడీ మంచి తెలుగు ట్రాన్స్లేటర్ కదా ప్రభు. థీమ్ చెడకుండా మీరు రాసేస్తారు మంచిగా.
ఒక్కసారి నేను షేర్ చేయొచ్చా? ఒక్క నిమిషం ఉందా టైం మీకు?
చేయండి ప్రభు.
సారీ, నాకు కొంచెం పర్మిషన్ ఇవ్వాలేమో.
ఇస్తున్నా ఒక్క నిమిషం. యా, షేర్ పెట్టారు.
So I took this shloka. This one I took it from Bhagavatam purport. From the purport I took it. So this text is different from what we are reading now, basically. But I'll take it from the syllabus book, basically. And this one also from Bhagavad. This one is as it is Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyalila 19.170. This is the same shloka repeats there, basically. So this purport is translation is same, but again, this 1.2.234 this came from Bhagavad Gita 6.8 purport. This shloka is again referred. There the purport is again different. The meaning is different.
అంటే మీరు అది
wording is different. The meaning is same. The wording is different.
The wording is same. అంతే ఉంటుంది. ఇటువంటి కొద్దిగా అంటే ఇది మనకు సిలబస్ లో ఉంది.
Okay, so I think I should take it from there.
Yeah, this
one is again from Bhagavatam 7th canto purport lunch తీసామన్నమాట. This is matching, but those two are not matching. So I just wanted to know from where you took, basically.
మన బుక్కే గైడ్ వాళ్ళు ఇచ్చింది.
అదే సిలబస్ లో ఉందా? Okay, I'll take it from there.
ఇంకోటి విషయం ప్రభు, మీరు షేర్ చేయండి ప్రభు, మీకు ఈజీగా ఉంటుంది. ఒకటి చెప్తాను, ఓపెన్ చేయండి. మళ్ళీ ఇది కలిపి చేస్తున్నారు కదా, రాస్తున్నారు కదా తెలుగులో.
ఇక్కడ బ్రేక్ ఉంది ప్రభు, ఇక్కడ బ్రేక్ ఉంది. జనరల్లీ ఐ పుట్ ఇట్ ఇన్ ఎ డిఫరెంట్ కలర్. వర్డింగ్ బ్రేక్ డిఫరెంట్ కలర్ పెడతాను. ఐ స్టిల్ డోంట్ డు దట్.
అచ్చా 4 లైన్ అంటే మనకు బుక్స్ లో 4 లైన్లు ఉంటుంది కదా. యా, కలర్ కోడింగ్ హెల్ప్స్ టు రీడ్ క్లియర్లీ, సైట్ క్లియర్లీ. అంతే. యా, ఇట్స్ ఓకే ప్రభుజీ. సో ఇది కూడా తెలుగులో ప్రీచ్ చేద్దాం అనుకున్నారా ప్రభు? నెక్టర్ ఆఫ్ డివోషన్ కూడా తెలుగులో చెప్పి మీరందరూ
రూపాంతరం ఉంది. But at some point Prabhuji wanted us to do that. Then Prabhuji want us to do the both NOI, this one, and yeah.
ఏం చేయాలి? NOI
మనం ఇంకో బుక్ ఏంటది?
NOD
ఈశోపనిషత్తు 3 తెలుగులో చెప్పమన్నారు ప్రభు, టీచ్ చేయమంటున్నారు.
Now you are graduated, right ప్రభు? So you have to teach.
SSR అయిన తర్వాత ఆ 3 చెప్పి అప్పుడు భగవద్గీతకి వెళ్ళమన్నారు యాక్చువల్ గా. కానీ ఆ 3 స్కిప్ చేసి భగవద్గీతకి వెళ్ళిపోయాను. ఈ నెక్స్ట్ బ్యాచ్ లకి ఈశోపనిషత్తు భగవద్గీత అయిపోయాక ఈశోపనిషత్తు
ఈ ప్రిస్క్రిప్షన్
చేయాలి.
డాక్టర్ అయిన మీరు, స్పిరిచువల్ డాక్టర్.
అదే రామ.
Yes, thank you. Vanchakalpatarubyascha kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnava vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Guru ki jai. Nitai Gaur Hari Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you. See you all. And